protesters effectively kicked Ted Cruz and his wife out of a restaurant. Let's take a look at the video here, and then we'll discuss.
We believe survivors.
Senator, I have a right to know what your position is on Brett Kavanaugh.
We believe
God
survivors.
bless you, ma'am.
Bless you as well. I really appreciate you.
Survivors.
I'm a survivor of sexual assault, ma'am. I believe all survivors. There are now 3 people who have come forward and who have said that Brett Kavanaugh has attacked them. I know that you're close friends with him. Did you talk to him about that? Did you talk to him about his position?
We believe survivers. We believe survivors. We believe survivors. We believe survivors. We believe survivors. We believe survivors.
Beto is way hotter than you do.
We believe survivors.
We believe survivors.
God bless
We believe survivors.
God bless you.
Excuse me. Let my wife through.
We believe survivors. For God,
We believe survivors. 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 Sexist, racist, anti-gay. We believe survivors. We believe survivors. We believe survivors.
Okay, so Beto O'Rourke, Ted Cruz's opponent, actually came out and condemned this, which I'm not surprised by that he would do something like that. I have mixed feelings, and I want to break down exactly why that is. And I know that this segment that I'm going to do is going to piss off a lot of you because I think there are very mixed feelings among you guys as well. Some are like, yeah, fuck it, it's Ted Cruz. Others are like, don't do that. So let me try to explain why I have mixed feelings. First, let's get to where I think this might be a bad idea. I think one of the most important aspects of morality is this idea of universality. So, in other words, if it's wrong for somebody else, it's wrong for you. If that makes sense. That's a very simple way of describing it. So, in other words, I can sense very easily that, and very clearly, that if you flip the situation here and you have, somebody like Bernie Sanders, for example, going out to eat with his wife, and then you have right-wing protesters, chanting at him about Venezuela or some shit, I think pretty much everybody on the left would be like, you know what the fuck are you doing? You're going to chase Bernie Sanders out of a restaurant because you have a disagreement with him? Fuck are you doing? And I think we'd all be against it. So I feel like people who are supporting what happened here, they're being very short-sighted, and it kind of annoys me that they're not doing like basic bare minimum intellectual exercises of like flipping the scenario and saying, what if it happened to me? What if it happened to a politician I love? And that really frustrates me. Something about that really gets under my skin when people don't bother to, try to see the situation from the other perspective or try to flip the scenario. Because that just strikes me as dumb. Like, you're being a reactionary if you haven't run through that scenario and then thought about it in a deeper way. So that's one of the reasons why I'm like, not sure this is a great idea. But on the other side of this, there's 2 reasons on the other side. One of them is, well, listen, this is their free speech. Like, those protesters are just expressing their free speech, and they have quite a bit to say to Ted Cruz. Now, I don't even know, like, in my mind, so what they're doing is they're going at him over Kavanaugh. Okay, I mean, I 100% think that Kavanaugh should not be on the court. Even before the sexual assault allegations, I would have said, hell no, I'm voting no. But even with the specifics of what they were saying, I have disagreements. Like, one of them says to Ted Cruz, I'm a survivor, quote, I believe all survivors of sexual assault. Well, then don't try to pretend like you're not flipping due process, because that's exactly what you just did. You said you believe all survivors. You believe all survivors? Okay, do you believe the people who are claiming that Bill Clinton raped them? Or how about Keith Ellison's ex-girlfriend who's now claiming sexual assault or abuse or something like that? How about that? So it's just a weird thing when people, for political reasons, they, I believe all survivors. I just find it a weird inversion of due process. And then it annoys me even more when people try to pretend like they're not indeed doing that, because they are doing that. If you say, I believe all survivors, what you're saying is, as soon as anybody makes a claim, that person is then guilty until proven innocent. And I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that at all. I think that's fucking crazy, and that's the opposite of what somebody on the left is supposed to do. But putting that aside, this is their free speech. They have every right to go out there and talk about public officials and call them out. I mean, maybe in my mind, I would put other issues when it comes to Ted Cruz above the Kavanaugh issue, even though I do disagree with him on the Kavanaugh issue. But it is their free speech. So if I go up to Ted Cruz and I pester him over all the wars he supported, I should be able to do that. I should be able to ask him tough questions about the wars he supported. I should be able to ask him about his support of the Patriot Act. I should be able to ask him about his support of repealing Obamacare, which would kick millions of people off their health insurance. I should be able to talk to him about all this stuff, about the fact that when he was Attorney General in Texas, he tried to ban dildos, literally. So there's a lot, point is, he's a public official. And when people make the claim of, oh, you're being uncivil, well, fuck your civility. I don't need to do shit. I don't need to abide by your civility. And you only want to talk about civility when people start to protest a public official. You never want to talk about civility when people like Ted Cruz cut social programs and therefore make it so that working class families are more likely to fucking starve or not be able to pay the light bill. Then you don't care about civility when Ted Cruz says, let's carpet bomb in the Middle East, which would, by the way, kill civilians. You don't care about civility when a guy like Ted Cruz says, I love Guantanamo Bay and we should keep it open. You don't care about civility then. Now all of a sudden you care about civility when people are protesting him. Go fuck yourself, because that's not a good reason. I see this as a mixed issue, but the reason why somebody might say don't do it has nothing to do with civility. And then the final reason why I'm torn on this is I'm of the belief that this might actually work. So if you actually protested war criminals, for example, if you protested Dick Cheney, if you protested, Lindsey Graham, the biggest neocon warmonger that's out there, if you protest him every time he goes out in public, peacefully, of course, I never would advocate violence, but if you peacefully protest him, you know what would happen? He might actually think twice next time he votes to go bomb somewhere. Because he thinks that they're clear that that's the reason why they're protesting me. Maybe if I didn't vote to invade and bomb every single fucking country that comes in front of me here, then they wouldn't protest me. So I think that this kind of action might actually have an impact in terms of making them think twice about their voting. Because when they feel like there's overwhelming opposition on a certain issue, they usually bend the knee. When they feel like they have to bend the knee, they bend the knee. And that's what happened with Medicare for All, for example. We went after Democrats and we said, hey, you're either for this or else. And they were like, okay, I'm for this. So that's the other thing, is that it might work. So overall, I do have mixed feelings, because if you flip the script and you view this action through a universal lens, every one of us would be uncomfortable with, people driving Bernie Sanders out of a restaurant or Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez out of a restaurant. And we'd be like, what the fuck are you doing? So that should make you slam on the brakes. But then on the flip side, they do have a right to do this. This is their free speech. They're not violating any law. I mean, I guess you could say the restaurant could say trespassing if they were so inclined. And then it might actually work. So, and again, I'm not sure, they picked the Kavanaugh issue to pester Cruz over. I think that's a little curious, because there's so much that Ted Cruz is guilty of and wrong. I mean, I guess since it's the hot issue right now, they're doing that. But what I'm talking about is just more or less doing this in general, And by the way, when it comes to politicians who, if I am indeed in favor of it, one of the first people on the list I would be for doing it to is Ted Cruz. Maybe not on this particular issue, but I would think, yeah, that's the guy, one of the guys we should be protesting. So I don't know. I have very mixed feelings on this, as you guys can tell. And I got to be honest, man, I think if you don't have mixed feelings on it, you're just not thinking about it very deeply. So, but anyway, you can go ahead and leave in the comments what you guys think, and I might actually do the rare occurrence of going through some of the comments.